Hello, Mr. Eric, Mr. Ryan, are you right?
Maybe we are.
Okay. So
Maybe.
let's say Daddy have two meetings today, right? Like from today, yeah, from 1 to 1 o'clock,
You didn't really have a meeting.
2 o'clock, okay? And then I have another meeting, let's say I have another meeting,
6
1:30
o'clock.
to 3 o'clock. So are these two meetings having a conflict?
So you have to do 2 hour time. So 1 o'clock.
So 1 o'clock to
It's
2
called
o'clock.
multitask.
Ah, okay. So the question is that given those two times, two events, we want to find out if they have this conflict. The conflict saying that at the moment that we need to attend, Daddy needs to attend two meetings. So in other words, we are asking if there's an intersection between these two time.
Yes.
If we go multitask.
Okay, so yes. Yeah. Look, if we plot it on the timeline here. Right, look. 1 o'clock here, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And 1:30 is here, right? 1:30 to 3 o'clock. Okay, so look. The first bit is this bit, the second event is here. Right, so we have overlap. So we have overlap. Then it means that we have conflict. Okay? Yeah.
Did you eat this cat food?
Okay, so the question is simple. Given two time event
Event.
1, event 0, for example, 0, 1, 0, 0,
Yeah.
and 0, 2, 0, 0, start end, and event 1 is 0, 1, 30,
Half time.
And the hope is no pills.
3 o'clock, then we return, yes, there's a conflict, otherwise we return false, okay?
Banana.
So another special case is that if the second event is from 2 to 3, we still think it has conflict, right? Because at 2 o'clock, at the moment of 2 o'clock, there are two events, inclusive, am I right? Okay, so what's your thought? I mean,
The later one and the start of the later one, which is 1:30.
the start of the later one, yeah?
Yeah, which is 1:30. If it's before the end of the first one, there's an overlap.
But not necessarily. Okay, that's a very good start. Okay, how about you see this is before this, yeah?
Yeah.
Alright. But how about if the entire thing moves that? This is still before that. But there's no overlap. Does it make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so how? I mean, yeah, you're very close. You're very close.
That's because that changes to the early one. If you move a whole inches to the beginning, that makes it the early one, not the late one.
Okay, yeah, that's another thing. Okay. So you're saying the later one. So first of all, the later one. What's the later one? So this start needs to be bigger than this, right?
No, the start of the later one has to be before the end of the
Okay.
earliest one.
So how do you define the later one? What's later one?
It's the one with
How do you know which one is later one? How do you know which one is later one?
because
Half
the
time.
start.
The star, this star, the bigger star, right?
Yeah.
So if this is bigger than that, right?
Yeah.
And this is smaller than that, right? Then there's an overlap.
Yeah.
Yes. And you need to do the opposite as well, right? Because there are two cases. If this is the later one. So if this is bigger than that and smaller than that, right? Yeah, that could work. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so how about that if we think differently? Like, what's the opposite? What's the opposite of overlap? Let's conflict. What's the opposite?
Not overlap.
Oh, not overlap, not overlap anything. So what's the opposite of
I know, underlap.
Good. Okay, so look. you look,
What's the opposite?
how
of that?
many situations of overlap? Look here. This is A, right? And then another one B. So it could be something like that, right? This is one case. And what's the other case? This is A. What's the other case not overlapping?
B to the right.
Okay. Okay. If the end, okay, so this is the second, this is the first event, this is the second. If the second event, if the end of the second event is before the start of the first event, or if the start of the second event, right, is bigger than the end of the first event, then we don't have an overlap, right? This covers all the cases when the two events not overlapping, not having a conflict. And the opposite, not
Don't overlap.
overlapping. So what's this?
Not overlap.
Not overlapping. That becomes overlapping. Yeah, got it? Okay, so yeah, very simple, okay? And given the time, we can just do this. So if A, B equals E0, if it is given this time, 2 times, A1, A2, okay? And then B1, B2, okay? E1. And then we can say, so this is the A1, this is A2, this is B1, this is B2.
Oh.
A1, A2, B1, B2. Then we can say return not, okay, parenthesis, B2 smaller than A1 or B1 bigger than A2, right? And that's it, right? So this is one way, and then your way is good. Another way is that we can compare if the maximum, look, if the maximum of the starting point, right? If the maximum of starting point is lower than if the maximum of a starting point, right? Starting point is A1, B1, okay? Is smaller or equal than the minimum of the ending point, which is A2, B2, okay? Yeah, look.
No.
Yeah, look at these two. The maximum of a starting point is this one. The minimum of ending point is this one. So this is smaller than that. It has an overlap. Okay, let's look at it not overlapping. The maximum of starting point is this point. The minimum of ending point is here. So it doesn't satisfy. So let's not overlapping. Another one. The maximum of starting point is this one. The minimum ending point is this one. So starting point is bigger than the ending point, so there's no overlapping. But if the maximum of starting point is smaller than the minimum of the smaller or equal than minimum ending point, then we have an overlap. Okay? Think the opposite. Okay, let's look at this. Another new problem. Okay, given two rectangle. Yeah? Look, given two rectangle, just horizontal rectangle. How do we know if there's an overlap? Come on, look. You know there are 4 coordinates. You know the coordinates, yeah? You know each coordinate. How do we know if there's overlap?
The coordinates, because one of the coordinates must be like in the other rectangle.
Yeah, but how? There are many situations. Look, this is also overlapping. This is also overlapping. There are many situations, but how do we know? How do we brute force all kinds of situations that we are sure the two rectangles overlapping? Just horizontal, Horizontal rectangle.
If they hit another rectangle.
Yeah, how do we check? What did I just say? Think the opposite. What's the opposite?
Unloud.
No. What's the opposite?
How?
What's the opposite of two rectangles overlapping?
Two rectangles.
Two squares.
Separate.
Two rectangles not overlapping, separate. Yeah, split. So what's the opposite? So look. What's the opposite?
Two squares.
Look here. So this is the first rectangle, right?
That's a
And what's the second rectangle that is not overlapping? So what could be? It could be here. It could be here.
It could be.
It could be here. It could be here.
It could be on Jupiter.
Okay. Look. There are only 4 kinds of situations when they are not overlapping. Why? Look, it's above the top, so it's somewhere here, right? It's somewhere here. So it could be somewhere here, right? Somewhere.
Whoa!
On the left of the left border, it could be here, right?
It looks like a rectangle mushroom. from.
Yeah. It could be here, right? And then below the bottom border. So it could be here, right? And then on the right of the right border, right? Yeah. So these are the fourth situation that covered all the cases that the second rectangle overlaps the first one, right? No, I'm saying overlapping with this one. These are just some example. Okay. So look.
Ginormous.
Yeah. I'm right.
Yeah.
So what's the opposite? Then it's overlapping, right? So we just have to check because this is easier to check, right? I can just check. Look at this. The y-axis is lower than that or up above the left. The x-axis is on the left or on the right. It's easier to check if these two rectangles, if they don't overlap. Then the opposite, then that will be overlapping. Okay? Yeah. So today's question, the two events, two interval. Yeah. This is basically asking if two intervals have overlapping. I think we covered that slightly in the previous lessons, right? So look, if there are two intervals overlapping, so the easiest way would be to check if they are not overlapping, because it's quite easy to check if they are not overlapping. They're just two cases, right? So when this second one is totally on the left or totally on the right, and then we just have to negate the check, then it will be overlapping. All right? Okay, so back to you. What have you learned today? And that's it.
Oh, I learned about
Determine if two events have conflict.
if two like I don't know meetings like overlap, so you have to multitask.
Or movies.
Yeah. Okay.
Huh? Oh
Or
yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
What's the?
How about movie meetings?
Oh, I see. Okay. So continue, please. Continue.
And so the way we do it is, for example, like my way is like the beginning of the later one, and to know the later one is the start of the starts of both of them. The greater the later the start is it's the later one.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what have you learned? What's Daddy's approach?
Your approach is like using the coordinates, like like that is over there and that is over there, and if that's over that one, then it must overlap.
The opposite of not overlapping. Okay. And it's the same thing as checking if two rectangles overlapping. So if sometimes today's key takeaway is that sometimes it's easier to check the opposite, right? And if we check the opposite, then we can negate. We can make it opposite. Then double negative means positive. Am I right? Not overlapping is overlapping. Okay, Ryan, what's your turn, please?
So you have this event.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Yeah.
Like eating apples and watching movies.
Okay.
What are you doing?
Okay. Come on, Ryan, please. So what are we trying to find out?
If they're
What?
if they're conflict.
Conflicts overlapping, intersection, okay? And then how are we doing it? How do we check if
Force.
what's yeah, so can you be more specific?
If they're past the rectangle.
No, I'm talking about the events, the interval, even intervals. How do we check if there are two intervals on the line overlapping? These two intervals. How they overlapping?
If they touch each other.
Yeah, but how? What's the opposite of not overlapping?
Overlapping.
What's the opposite of overlapping?
Not overlapping.
So this is not overlapping, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
This is not overlapping, yeah?
Yeah.
There are only two, right? So we can check if they are not overlapping, and then we make the opposite, then that's overlapping, alright?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are more situations or more scenarios of overlapping, right?
Eric, what's that?
Okay?
A caterpillar.
Okay, that's it for today.
Bye.
Bye.